Hello, Keith Rucker here at VintageMachinery.org. Guys, today we're back to working on the Tally-Ho Capstan project, and we're going to be changing gears a little bit and starting to work on this windlass drum here. And particularly today, what I want to focus on is getting the chain Gypsy mounted in here. Now, if you haven't followed along with this project so far, this original windlass here is over 100 years old. Came off the Tally-Ho sailing ship that's being restored up in the Pacific Northwest right now. And this is the original capstan that was on the boat. However, the chain Gypsy down here in the bottom, this chain Gypsy is basically the part that grabs the anchor chain and pulls it up out of the water. This drum will rotate and it will wrap around here. The original chain Gypsy, or the little sockets that the chain fits into, was cast into the base of this. It was extremely worn, as you would expect on a piece that was over 100 years old. And to make matters even worse, the pattern for the chain that was in here is not a chain size that you can even source anymore. So it really didn't fit any modern chain. So we made the decision, working with an engineering firm up in the UK, to basically machine out the original Gypsy in here, and we're going to be installing a new Gypsy. Now, David Webster of Deep Blue Engineering, who's kind of done the engineering work on this, he's actually already designed the new Gypsy pieces. He's already machined these out of some stainless steel, and he's sent these over to me. And my job is, of course, we got this machined out previously, and we're going to be mounting this today and getting it ready to put back together so that it can be used the way it needs to be used going forward. So let's bring you in here, kind of show you the components, show you the game plan, and we're going to get started and get this job hopefully knocked out in this video, getting this chain Gypsy mounted back in here. So these are the new pieces here that were machined, and you can see the sockets cut in here for the chain. This was obviously done on a CNC system where you got the flat and then you got the groove in the back that the chain will lie in, the links in between them. And again, this is what we're going to be installing in here into this slot. And we had opened this up previously, machined out all that old area in there. And these basically are just going to slide up in here. Let's see, I gotta get them in here. They fit. Just gotta get them in just right. There we go. So those two halves come together in here, and these just sandwich right in place. They come together very nicely in a seam here that you can see right here, and I have to get them pulled up tight, but that seam will close. I had them closed up earlier. I don't want to do it right now because it's got to come back out, but this will squeeze all together. And we're going to be putting some bolts up through here, basically bolting this thing into place. And it'll also have some bedding compound stuff put in here as well when we assemble it for good, so that we have a nice tight fit. So let's take a look at the drawing that Dave sent me. And you can kind of see we've got the capstan here, and here's the Gypsy halves that will be going into the capstan. We'll be running some bolts up through this. Basically, he wants to use 6 bolts. 1, 2, 3. We won't put bolts on the split line, so there'll be 3 bolts equally spaced, and those spacings are also going to be done so that basically the bolt will pass kind of right behind where this chain is going to be laying flat. So right in here, you got the chain you got a cross section, but there's an area right in here where there's nothing in there for that chain to hit because it'll be laying flat here, and you'll have the 2 links on either side. So the bolt will be kind of coming right down through that area, and we'll just have those right in place. So these are going to be 3/8 bolts. These are probably going to have to make these bolts out of some aluminum bronze. That's the material he wants to use. Won't be corrosive. And we'll have to figure up the length and all that once we kind of get these things drilled and tapped. So anyway, that's kind of the game plan. That's what we're going after. I think my game plan is we're going to assemble the Gypsy halves back over into the capstan, and then we're going to take this over to the radial drill and actually drill the holes in here. I'll have to get them lined up where they need to be. We'll drill the holes, and then we'll probably pull the halves back out. We'll tap the holes. Since we'll be drilling for a tap size, then we'll have to drill these oversized to the 3/8 inch size, drill and ream those. For the bolt to go down through, we'll have to tap the holes in the bottom of the capstan, make the bolts, and put it all together. So yeah, a lot of work, but we'll get it done. So I've got the capstan drum over here on the radial drill where we're going to be drilling the holes that's going to be going through the actual casting here, as well as through the gypsy piece that's going to fit up in here. And I need to get this set up for the diameter that I need to drill. Now, I'm not going to be able to do like on a milling machine and dial this thing in, find a center, and lay out a perfect hole pattern. I do know what my diameter needs to be, and we're just going to be kind of getting those bolts more or less in the center where they need to be on each one of them, but they're probably not going to be laid out perfectly. It's going to be all right though. We just need to have the holes for alignment. Now, to set up my hole pattern, I need to have the radius marked in here for me to work off of. So what I've done is back when we turned this, I had to make a little piece that fit into the bearing. It's just got a center in it that we used over on the lathe to support this. I've just dropped that back down in here, but what I got now is a center that I can work off of, and we can scribe a circle in here for us to be able to lay out our hole pattern. So I've got my hole in here. It's, according to the plans, it's a 5.5 inch diameter circle. So I basically just took a set of trammel points here. One of them I can mount a pencil in, and I just dropped this down into that center, and I went around and scribed a circle all the way around. That is my circle that I need to be putting into, where we'll have everything in that circle. Now what I need to do is get the gypsy piece put back in here and determine where each of the individual holes need to be. And we'll start drilling this thing out. But before we do that, I need to get this whole thing bolted down to the table. Now I've got a long rod that I'm just going to drop down the center here. We'll come up with something to kind of clamp this thing straight down to the table so it doesn't move while we're doing all this. I get that set up, and we'll see if we can start drilling some holes here very soon. So just showing my setup here, I think I got it ready to start drilling. So first off, we've got this whole capstan drum attached to the table. So there's a bolt, one single bolt that goes all the way down through here. I just used my clamp set, and we put together a bunch of these different studs, and it's just all sandwiching straight down. Now there's a couple of studs sticking out of the bottom of the capstan here, or it's actually the top, it's turned upside down, but still it wouldn't allow me to go flat down the table. So I do have a couple of just blocks of metal down here that's just kind of holding it up. It's all nice and flat and even. And then on the gypsy piece inside, I wanted to make sure that was pulled together real tight. So I just put some blocks of wood around this and used a ratchet strap, and that's just kind of holding it all together, holding it all nice and tight in there so that we can come in here and drill. Now, we'd already scribed our circle up here. I went back and lined up where the 6 holes need to be drilled. I have those marked in here. You'll see that in a minute. And now I think what we're ready to do is to go ahead and start drilling these. And let's go at it. Let's see if we can drill some holes. All right, so first thing I need to do here is we need to get lined up on our holes to drill. So with this radial drill, I can kind of move the head around, swing it around, move it in and out. And I've just got a little pointer on here, and I'm basically just trying to get lined up over that mark. And guys, this doesn't have to be just perfect. You know, we're going to drill these holes, get them, you know, as close to that hole pattern as we can. But if it's not, you know, if it's off by just a tiny bit one way or the other, it's not going to matter. We're going to be putting this back together so the holes will line up when we come back together. We're going to have them awful close. So that one is where it needs to be. So I'm going to go ahead and just take my little pointer out. We're going to start with a spotting drill, and we will just spot that hole to get a little hole started right where it needs to be. We're running on a rough cast surface here, so it's not a perfectly flat surface to start on. We will just get us a little hole started. All right, that should be good. Now we're going to be using 3/8 inch bolts. We're going to be making some brass bolts or bronze bolts rather to go down through here. So it's going to be threaded 3/8 down in the bottom of the hole. So I'm basically going to start by just drilling a hole all the way through here for a tap size for 3/8 16ths. So with the hole spotted, next step here is I need to drill a hole that goes all the way through the entire piece. We're going to go through the top of the casting here, through the stainless steel piece that's in here for the Gypsy, and then back through the bottom of the cast iron on the other side. This is going to be tapped for a 3/8 16 hole. So this is a 5/16 drill bit, which is the tap size or the hole for the tap size we're going to be doing. We'll be coming back and drilling a clearance for the bolt, but down in the bottom it will be tapped, but only in the bottom of the casting. But we'll start with this hole that going to go all the way through. So let's go ahead and fire up. And I should be able to just engage my down feed and let the machine do the drilling for me. And we're going to let it drill all the way through all of this. Tell you what, I'm going to stop here. We're going to increase our speed. For a 5/16 inch hole, we need to be going a little bit faster than what we're doing right now. I'm going to bump this up to 715 RPMs. Let's see. That should be right there. There we go. That's going to be a better drill speed for what we're doing. All right, we'll let it drill all the way down through there. So we're into the stainless steel now. Still sounds like it's going through the center. It's going to go back through some more stainless steel here. There it goes. Oh. And we got a red hot mess down there. What is going on? I actually saw my drill bit glowing red down there. That is not good. Let's see what's happening here. So it looks like, guys, what happened is when that drill bit came through that little open area there, a little slug got down up underneath it, and that little slug just turned into a red hot. It was between there and the metal. I'm going to see if I can take a punch and just kind of punch that out and see if we continue drilling. The drill bit doesn't look that bad, but that was just in the way. Sorry, I turned the light off there. This little slug here was what was in between the drill bit and the bottom that we were drilling into. That got red hot. Hopefully we haven't messed up too bad here. I think I'm going to take that drill bit and just take it back to my drill bit sharpener and make sure we got a good edge on it, and then we're going to come back and see if we can drill that the rest of the way through. Hi guys, I took that drill bit and sharpened it up, and I've been working on this a little bit. I've been putting a little oil in there, and I'm just kind of putting the power feed on and letting it drill a little bit. Then I'm pulling it out of the cut, trying to keep it from getting too hot again. So far, we seem like we're getting down on there. Taking a second for this drill. Here it goes. It's starting to drill now, and it's pulling chips out. But you can tell this is really struggling. So I'm just kind of pecking it a little bit, clearing these chips, not giving it a chance to get too hot. It was a little bit of a bear to get past. We got some work hardening on there where it got hot, but I think we're getting through it. So we're just going to continue pecking on this. I hope they're not all this much trouble. I know that stainless steel can be tough to work with, but this is getting kind of scary thinking it's going to give me this much trouble all the way through. Let's hopefully we get this first hole through here. I'm going to try something a little different. I'm going to put some anchor lube in here. This is stuff I normally use for tapping, but I've always heard it's good as just a general cutting fluid, and I've also heard that it's really good on stainless steel. So heck, it ain't gonna hurt to try. We'll give it a shot and see how it does. Yeah, we're into cast iron now, and we're all the way through. Good deal. All right. Wow. That was a tough hole. We got it. All right, let's figure out what I want to do before I go to the next one. All right, next thing I think I want to do is, the hole we drilled was 5/16. That's for basically tapping down here in the bottom. It's going to be a 3/8 inch bolt that goes through there. So I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and drill this at least. I don't know if I'm going to go all the way through because I want to drill through the last bit of these stainless steel blanks, just probably once I take these out, so I'd make sure that I don't drill down into the cast iron. But I do want to go ahead and enlarge the top part because I want to drop some bolts in these as I'm drilling them, just to make sure that nothing moves, just kind of just pinning it in place as we go. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. I just got a 3/8 inch drill bit in here, and tell you what, we'll just go ahead and put a little bit of this anchor lube on here. Shouldn't have any problem drilling through the cast iron on the top there, but once we get below that into the stainless, you see it's drilling really nice right there. I really think that we work hard in the bottom of that. Hopefully we're not going to run into this kind of problem throughout the rest of this part. Clear out my chips, put a little bit more anchor lube down in there since we are down in the stainless now. All right, we're through the top part. And I want to just, I'm not going to go all the way through the bottom, but I do want to at least kind of get it started. All right. I think that's good for right now. All right, now I've got a counterbore in here. I don't have a pilot for this, but what I want to do is I want to enlarge a flat. I want to basically just put a flat down here because where the head of that bolt and washer is going to go. Right now I've got an uneven cast surface. I really want to have a flat surface, so I'm just trying to get an area that's flat where everything will go. And I'm hoping I can do this without having a pilot on this tool. If not, we'll have to make a pilot for it, but let's see how it goes. We're just basically spot facing that area there until we get a nice flat surface all the way around. See what that looks like. It's probably good enough, but I see one little area it's not quite. That's probably good right there, yeah. All right, that just gives me a flat surface for that bolt to tighten down onto, and that washer should fit right down in that socket. All right. And now what I want to do is I'm just going to take a bolt and I'm just going to let it just sit down in there. It's not tightened anything, but right now all this is doing is just serving as a pin. And as we drill the rest of these holes, that's going to just make sure my alignment hopefully stays exactly correct and nothing moves around on me. The other thing I want to do is, now that I've kind of gotten through that first hole, I'm going to try to put my strap back on here and see if we can get the rest of these drilled without work hardening like we did that first time. Be a little more careful, take my time a little bit more, and maybe not use the power feed. Try to prevent that from being a problem. Let's move on with it. All right, here we go with hole number 2. I should have it lined up right over my point again. We'll come in here with the center drill, or the spot and drill rather, and we'll just spot a hole to get started on. We'll go to a 5/16 inch drill, again the tap size, and we'll drill through that cast iron piece first. I'm going at a slower RPM, hopefully not building up as much heat this time as I did last time. According to my charts, I should have been able to run this bit, even in this material, at about 750 RPMs, but we got way too hot. So I'm hoping that by slowing this down, we're running at about 200 RPMs right now. Just taking our time a little bit more. All right, we are through the cast iron and into the stainless now. And I'm going to put a little dab of anchor lube in here and see if that helps. I'm feeding by hand now rather than using the auto feed. And I'm just going to take my time. I'm going to kind of peck it a little bit, clear chips, and take my time going through this. So far, this seems to be going a lot better, but last time the trouble started once we kind of went through that center section and started in the bottom half. We should be getting close to popping out. I think we just came through the hole. Yep. So we're through the center section now. Let's see if we have better luck down on the bottom half now. Kind of feels like it may be in the cast iron now. I'm about gone as deep as I can go with this drill bit. I'm going to be bottoming out here. But I do have a longer drill bit we can put in there. All right, I'm going to swap out bits. All right, we are through, I think. Yep. All right, that was more like what I was expecting. So now we're gonna go ahead and oversize drill this at least part way so we can get another bolt in there. We'll spot face the top, go around, do the other ones, and hopefully the other ones won't give us any more trouble. Well, I got all my holes drilled. Everything went just fine on the rest of these. Just took my time and a little bit slower speed there on the drill, and we didn't have any more troubles. Did have to sharpen my bit a couple of times. That stainless steel was just really, really tough, but really think that anchor lube helped out a bunch, getting a little bit of lubrication in there as well. So, but we've got the whole pattern all drilled out. I do want to go ahead now and take my straps off. And next, what I need to do is I need to actually take this thing completely back apart again. I need to finish drilling out the holes in the stainless parts all the way through, and we need to tap the holes in the bottom of the capstan for the screws to go into. But we got some other work that we need to do this before we can put it all together. But we need to go ahead and see if we can get it all back apart. So we'll start by pulling out these little bolts. Like I said, I just put these in just as pins, really, to kind of just hold it all in place as I was finishing up the drilling and stuff. That one wants to be stubborn. Over at the drill press, and we're just going to finish drilling these holes out 3/8 all the way through. This will be for the bolt to pass all the way through the part. So we'll just go around to each one of these holes and finish it out. I've already drilled partially through with it, but we didn't go all the way through because I didn't want to get down into the area where the tap is going to be running below. Well, I think we're ready now to go ahead and tap the holes down here in the bottom. So the top has been drilled out to 3/8, but we've got the tap size down at the bottom. And I'm using a pulley tap. This is called a pulley tap because it's a long tap. It was often used on pulleys where they needed to go through the outside rim of the pulley down to the hub. So it's basically just an extended tap, and we should be able to kind of reach down in that hole. So I'll put a little dab of that anchor lube on here. Even though that is 3/8, I'm going to have to kind of thread it through the top. We're going to go back and ream these holes once we do the final assembly to make sure everything lines up just right. But I'm going to have to kind of get it through there and down into the, it's not really barely even cutting, but we are going to have to kind of screw it down through that top section. And once we do, we'll get down into the bottom. This should drop down here in just a second. And now I can tap that bottom hole. And again, we're going into the hole size for this tap, which was 5/16, I think. Anyway, we're going to do all of these, get all these holes tapped, and go from there. So get all these done and come back. So we're making good progress on this. I got my holes all done. We got our ready to basically bolt this thing together. But before we do, I got to make some proper bolts. I've got just a regular steel bolt here, but the design that we have actually calls for the bolts to be made from aluminum bronze. And I was not able to source any aluminum bronze bolts in the size that I needed. I was able to find some that were fully threaded, but I really want some that have a shoulder on them like this so that they can be a little bit tighter in there, and we can put some Loctite in it to hold it all in place according to the design that Dave's worked out. So instead of purchasing some bolts and doing it the easy way, we're going to do it the hard way. I've got some bronze material over there, and we're going to go over to the lathe. I got to make the bolts for this thing. Once that is done, I need to come back in here also. We need to give this thing a really thorough cleaning, and I need to check out the specs on the Loctite material that we're going to be using in here. I'm thinking that I'm going to have to actually have a little bit of a texture to the surface. It calls for, well, the first material we were looking at called for like a sandblasted surface. I need to double check. We did change the bedding compound stuff that we were going to use. We went to a different product. I need to check that. But if it needs to be blasted, I need to take this back there to my bead blaster and actually sandblast it, clean it real good, put the bedding compound in here and come bolt all this together. Also, when we do the final assembly, I'm going to run a reamer down through these holes to get them just the exact right size. And right now they are a little bit, even this bolt here, it's a little bit on the tight side going down through there, particularly in the Gypsy pieces. So we'll run a reamer, make sure everything's perfectly aligned. We'll ream it all in place and then bolt it together and let the bedding material and the Loctite materials cure. So up next, going to be making the bolts. I think we're going to cut this video off here. We'll do one on making the bolts, and then we'll get all this put together. But coming along nicely. So let's move on. And with that, we're going to sign off. As always, thanks so much for watching. Please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Those thumbs up and comments, greatly appreciated. It really helps feed the algorithms over on YouTube. It helps my site to get seen by other folks. Big, huge thank you to the folks who support the site financially through PayPal and Patreon. There are links for that down in the comments below if you'd like to help out on the channel a little bit. Every little bit helps, and it really enables me to take the time to shoot the videos, edit the videos, and all the work that goes along with that. I could get so much more done out here if I wasn't doing all the video, but then you guys wouldn't get to enjoy seeing what we do. So with that, guys, we are going to sign off. We'll catch you on the next video again. Thanks for watching.